Hello and welcome to the Evening News for Tuesday, January 28, 2014. I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. In the headlines, CCCC urges government to send soldiers to quarantine to boost crime fight. Kennard says criminal charges against ranks must be tied to strong evidence as the Colwyn Harding saga deepens. Commonwealth officials to discuss youth development here tomorrow. 6 months and counting, GCOM still to appoint new CEO. Region 2 pensioner hangs self, and the Deaf Association wants government to devise a new employment policy. Now for the news in detail. The Central Quarantine Chamber of Commerce is calling for soldiers to converge on the quarantine area to assist law enforcement in tackling crime in the area. More in this report. President of the Central Quarantine Chamber of Commerce, Leka Rambridge, said that despite the lack of manpower in the police force, the authorities don't have any acceptable excuse for the current incidence of crime there. He called on the government to divert some of the Guyana Defence Force's resources to help combat crime on the quarantine. During a telephone interview with this newscast, he related that the recent spate of events is a major deterrent for current and prospective investors in the region. His statement comes after the Central Quarantine Chamber of Commerce joined with the quarantine community in expressing their lack of confidence in local law enforcement to duly carry out their duties. In a press release issued today, the Chamber noted the grave loss of life as a result of violent upsurge in criminal activities in the region, with some 4 recorded incidents of robbery amounting to millions in losses. The interest by the Chamber arose after residents of quarantine took to the streets on Sunday in protest after several robberies crippled some businesses in the area. Scores of residents blocked the public road in efforts to register their dissatisfaction with the manner in which the police were dealing with the upsurge in crime. The residents had claimed that some of the lawmen were in fact responsible for some of the crimes being perpetrated. One resident had noted that in one incident, the police vehicle was used. The protest actions almost escalated into a riot after an explosive was thrown at a police vehicle, even as they had attempted to administer some form of crowd control. Home Affairs Minister Clement Rohi told journalists at a recent press conference that he had instructed the Commissioner of Police, Leroy Brummel, to transfer the ranks stationed at the number 51 Village Police Station. Head of the Police Complaints Authority, Cecil Kennard, today said that he will not be recommending criminal charges against the police officers who allegedly battered and raped 23-year-old Colwyn Harding unless there is sufficient evidence to prove they have perpetrated the acts. More in this report.
Head of the Police Complaints Authority, Cecil Kennard, says the evidence extracted thus far in the Colwyn Harding saga must prove that the police have engaged in criminal acts against him beyond a reasonable doubt before he recommends charges in this respect. He made this comment during a telephone interview with Television Guyana, which he confirmed receiving the investigation report from the Office of Professional Responsibility. He explained carefully how the process works when investigations of this nature occur. Kennard stated that when criminal charges are recommended against police officers, then it goes to the Director of Public Prosecutions for advice. However, the process differs as it relates to disciplinary breaches and recommendations.
If it relates to disciplinary charges, if it's the allegation is against the rank from sergeant down, that will have to be sent to the Commissioner of Police for him to hold that departmental inquiry. If it's above the rank of a sergeant, that has to go to the Police Service Commission for them to deal with that departmental charge.
The PCA head noted that he will review the recommendations, after which he would send the file to the DPP's office along with corresponding recommendations from his office. When asked about the Colwyn Harding's case and whether criminal charges were recommended against the police officers who are alleged to have perpetrated the act, Kennard said that he has not fully perused the file.
Unless the evidence is very clear, I'm not going to recommend criminal charges, because prosecution has to prove its case beyond reasonable doubt. And if in a given situation there's a reasonable doubt, in that case, I'm not going to recommend criminal charges. There may be offenses disclosed, there may be some criminal offenses disclosed, but it may not be of the nature which people are contending. I don't know, I haven't gone through the panel. I have to be satisfied before I recommend criminal charge against any policeman that There's no reasonable doubt in the matter.
Kennard stated that before he makes any recommendations, he will have to examine and take both sides into consideration.
It will be most unfair to say it will be or it will not be until I've gone through those statements. And I will have to go through the medical reports in the matter and whatnot. Which statements made by all parties concerned, those which tend to support the victim as well as those that tend to support the police.
He disclosed that he will be looking to see if proper investigations were conducted, and if not, it will be sent back to the OPR for further work to be done. The PCA had stated that the report before him is bulky and contains several statements.
Senior officials within the Commonwealth group of countries will converge in Guyana tomorrow to discuss priorities for improving the lives of the hemisphere's youth. The meeting will also see them reviewing the priorities that also exist and will run from January 29 to 30 this year. The meeting, convened by the Commonwealth Youth Programme, will be opened by Guyana's Minister of Culture, Youth and Sport, Dr. Frank Anthony, at the Regency Suites, Hartfield Street at 9:30. The meeting follows closely on the November 2013 Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Sri Lanka, at which leaders vow to put young people at the heart of policy-making decisions for sustainable development. Representatives from Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, the Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, the British Virgin Islands, Cayman Islands, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago, the Turks and Caicos Island, and the chair of the Caribbean Regional Youth Council and the Commonwealth Youth Council's Caribbean representative will be in attendance. Almost 6 months after Gokul Budu's contract for the post of Chief Elections Officer was not renewed, the Guyana Elections Commission GCOM is still to appoint someone to fill the post. Samuel Suknanan reports.
The Guyana Elections Commission is yet to appoint a new Chief Elections Officer, and there seems to be some uncertainty about the way forward. According to reports, the entire panel of commissioners is in the process of interviewing possible candidates for the post. There is no clear indication as to when this process will be completed. However, the battle for the post remains fierce between Calvin Ben, who was previously Deputy Chief Elections Officer and now Acting CEO, and Keith Lowingfield, another senior staff. While there are allegations that GCOM is sidelining Calvin Ben for the post of CEO, the Commission's Public Relations Officer, Vishnu Prasad, said that the allegations are untrue, explaining the appointment is made as a collective decision by all commissioners and the chairman. According to reports, Lowingfield could get the support of the 3 opposition members of GCOM. He worked previously with chairman of the APNU, David Granger. A statutory meeting was held today to discuss the appointment of a CEO. The position of CEO became vacant after GCOM did not renew the contract of Gokul Budu. The decision not to renew was controversial. Reporting for the Evening News, I'm Samuel Sugnandan.
A 76-year-old man this morning took his life. Sugdiya Prasad, a pensioner of Cottonfield Village on the Essequibo coast, was discovered at approximately 5:30 by his son, Neelkant Prasad. Prasad's daughter, Davika Prasad, said she is not entirely surprised as her father is known to have suicidal tendencies. She related to this newscast that in previous occasions she was forced to hide poisonous substances in her home, fearful that he might attempt to take his own life. She added that her father frequently complained about being tired of life. She added too that her father had recently undergone a minor surgery and she, however, was unaware if the surgery had psychologically affected him. Though the man's body bore no marks of violence, police have since taken his remains into custody and a post-mortem examination is expected to be conducted shortly. Prasad's death takes Essequibo's suicide toll for the year to 3. Earlier this year, Leo Rodriguez killed himself shortly after murdering his 15-year-old lover. Edward Branford had also committed suicide at his Bounty Hall home. Meanwhile, the American University of Research today launched an independent campaign aimed at tackling the increasing social problem of suicide in society. Let's find out how it plans to do so in this report.
In an effort to reduce the number of suicide cases in Guyana, the American University of Research will be embarking on an initiative to promote self-awareness as a solution to the scourge problem. At a press conference today, Dr. Ethan Simon, president of the university, explained that if a person is aware of their symptoms, they can make a better choice rather than choosing to take their own lives.
We are embarking on this initiative due to the urgent need for a solution to suicide in our country. Suicide should not be an alternative to flee from challenges of life. Therefore, we will be sharing knowledge, with individuals so that they would use their ability to process challenges in a more positive way.
Simon pointed out that one's environment can have a positive or negative impact on one's life and decisions. Additionally, Dr. Simon explained that these interactive workshops are aimed at educating people to shift their focus.
To educate people, individuals, to shift their focus from dealing with the symptoms, and we can give them a very large variety of issues that are considered symptomatic, so that they would know whenever they find themselves behaving on those levels, they shift to looking at the source of those issues.
Speaking from a psychotherapist's point of view, he stated that everything starts from the mind, and when a person is aware of that, they are better able to make rational decisions, thus looking at the bigger picture. The self-awareness workshops will seek to reduce the number of persons with low self-esteem and attempts to self-harm by the end of 2014. This initiative will commence in February, beginning with the Essequibo Coast, in light of the recent suicide cases. This initiative is sponsored exclusively by the university. However, international partnerships will be sought. For the Evening News, Natasha Aziz.
Meanwhile, outgoing Minister of Local Government and Regional Development Ganga Prasad has dismissed sex allegations that have surfaced since he tendered his resignation. Natasha Aziz reports.
Ganga Prasad says he has advised his attorneys to take legal action against every media house, company or person that continues to libel and slander him by suggesting that he was involved in sexual relations with any minor. In a statement to the media, the outgoing local government minister denied the allegations which recently surfaced after he submitted his resignation last Thursday. Prasad described the allegations against him as baseless and malicious, stating that they were never the subject of any discourse between him and President Donald Ramotar. Ganga, who still serves as a sitting member of parliament for the ruling People's Progressive Party Civic Administration, contended that the allegations were seriously libelous and are causing him as well as his immediate family severe public humiliation, embarrassment, and trauma. When contacted today, he stood his ground, explaining that he would offer no further comment on the matter at the moment. He expressed shock at the statements, nonetheless, and called for an immediate cessation of the libel against him. Things took a turn yesterday when People's Progressive Party's General Secretary Clement Rohi confirmed that the minister was asked to resign by President Donald Ramotar. For the Evening News, Natasha Aziz.
This is the Evening News. Stay tuned. More news still ahead. This is the Evening News. Welcome back. A 28-year-old taxi driver of Lodge Housing Scheme was today placed on $25,000 bail after he appeared in the Georgetown Magistrates Court before Magistrate Priya Sinarayan Bihari, charged with using abusive language. Osafa Yard pleaded not guilty to the charge, which alleged that on January 25 at Lodge Housing Scheme, he used abusive language against Christine Mullings. The man's attorney, Dexter Todd, had told the court that the virtual complainant does not wish to pursue the matter. He added that his client is willing to relocate so as to ease the possibility of a further reoccurrence. Mullings, who is the mother of the accused, was however unsure as to whether she wanted to pursue the matter against her son when Magistrate Bihari had asked her. The magistrate subsequently placed the accused on bail and instructed him to report to Court 6 for a date and fixture. In February last, Yard appeared in court before Magistrate Liron Daly after it was alleged that he had attempted to murder his younger sibling Samuel Seeley. In that manner, Yard was granted $150,000 bail on that occasion. A revised budget for the Georgetown Mayor and City Council is expected to be presented this week. Samuel Soknanan reports.
City Mayor Hamilton Green said the MNCC is expected to see a revised annual budget presented during the course of this week for the Council's approval. The mayor described the previous budget, which was rejected by council, as unrealistic and lacking depth, and said it does not cater for the duties and responsibilities of the municipality. Green said if all goes well, the revised budget will be debated further, and the new budget could be passed soon once there are no further issues.
By Thursday, we ought to be able to convene a meeting, and on Friday or next Monday, be able to make a presentation to the public so that that document can then be sent to the minister. There was an attempt, of course, earlier to send to the minister a budget that did not have the approval of the council and did not pass through the scrutiny of the public, as is required by law and has been the tradition.
The mayor reiterated that the budget does not cater for the ratings appeals panel to ensure citizens' redress and to further reduce excuses for the non-payment of taxes. At another forum, Junior Local Government Minister Norman Whitaker had instructed the team to submit a written account of the objections made by Mayor and the councillors for the anticipated budget. The reviewed proposal of the budget is scheduled to be presented to the Local Government Minister for his approval. The 2014 proposal was initially presented by Budget Chairman of the Finance Committee, Junior Garrett. For the Evening News, I'm Samuel Signandan.
The multi-million-dollar Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, the NICU, at the New Amsterdam Hospital is now fully functional and had seen its first baby being placed there today. This was made possible by a 4-day intensive NICU training of 30 health workers attached to the facility, inclusive of doctors and nurses, under the auspices of a collaborative effort between the Ministry of Health and Guyana Help the Kids. Speaking at the conclusion of the NICU care training program last Friday, Dr. Precious Sonia Jensen, a pediatrician of the Nationwide Children's Hospital in the United States, said that the overall objective of the training was to reduce infant mortality in Guyana by implementing sustainable changes through education and technology. Based on her overall assessment, the persons trained are now well equipped with the necessary skills, knowledge, and requisite needed to fully execute their duties. 34 GDF ranks have successfully received additional professional training in various fields to enhance their capabilities. Let's find out more in this report.
34 officers in the Guyana Defence Force successfully took part in additional enhancement training opportunities offered by the force in 2013. This is according to a press release issued by GDF today. The release noted that 24 ranks completed training overseas, while the remaining 8 were trained in tertiary institutions across the country. Some of the field disciplines pursued by ranks included accounting, public management, and mechanics locally. Internationally, ranks had studied craft hull maintenance, hydraulic systems and equipment, and comprehensive responses to terrorism. Brigadier Mark Phillips, Chief of Staff of GDF, said despite these persons completing the training, there are still 73 others who are currently engaged in training. The Army Chief noted too that training of GDF troops in several academic disciplines is of utmost importance if they are to successfully defend Guyana. The advanced training was made possible through the force's restructured advanced education program, which sought to aid its troops' pursuance of their academic capacity. In the same vein, last Saturday saw several GDF troops being elevated in rank with on-the-spot promotions by Brigadier Phillips. The 8 ranks promoted were those involved in the search and rescue efforts for the Trans-Guyana aircraft that crashed shortly after takeoff from Olive Creek 2 Saturdays ago. For the Evening News, I'm Samuel Signandan.
The many concerns raised by citizens about the state of the Guyana Zoological Park will soon be addressed as plans are underway for the establishment of the first ever petting zoo in the country. More in this report.
A contract valued at Guyana's $32 million was on Tuesday signed between the Ministry of Natural Resources and the contractor Alvin Chermotu for the upgrading of the Zoological Park. The contract was signed in the ministry's boardroom. Work on the new zoo is expected to commence on Wednesday. Natural Resources and Environment Minister Robert Passot said that the Zoological Park forms part of the 3 Parks initiative, which will see major development of a few popular public parks in the city. He said that the basic concept behind the establishment of the petting zoo is to make available opportunities for children and animal lovers to have access to the rainforest experience.
We have a population that is quite aware and quite au fait with our rich biodiversity, and also one in which that we can celebrate and be part of. Not perhaps everyone can go out and have the rainforest experience, as we wish everyone can, but also from a very early age, we bring our people, we bring our communities closer to this richness of our country, this green richness of our country.
Questions were raised about the inaccessibility of newer species of animals at the zoo and whether or not after its commissioning, newer animals will be added. Commissioner of the Protected Area Commission, Damien Fernand, said that the entity stands between a rock and a hard place.
You ask yourself a question, what do I do first? Do I get the animal and stick it in a cage and then wait for money to build a proper cage? Or do I build a proper cage and then get the animals to fill it? Right now, as I told you, 2 weeks ago, we got a crested eagle brought into the zoo. A week before that, we had 2 scarlet macaws. We've had foxes. We had someone said that they have a small jaguar. Turns out to be an ocelot being brought into the zoo. There's a constant flow of these animals into the zoo, and we're trying our best basically to function as a rescue center.
According to Fernandes, the design and construction of the zoo will be informed by international guidelines for petting zoos. The infrastructural design of the new park is based on a roughly circular design with an all-weather walkway made out of paving stone. The outward side of the walkway will be a series of open enclosures that will feature docile animals only. The commissioner said that the facility will be raised 3 feet above its current location. It is expected to be completed by the ending of May this year. Reporting for the Evening News, I'm Alexis Rodney.
This is the Evening News. Stay tuned. More news still ahead. Welcome back. This is the Evening News. Natural Resources and the Environment Minister Robert Prasad says government is working closely with Commonwealth experts to stake out possible ways through which there can be proper governance of the oil and gas sector. More in this report.
Minister Prasad said that the Petroleum Act was recently drafted and the expertise of the Commonwealth counterparts was sought. The report is expected shortly.
We have an initial draft of the report, which we've been looking at and have been in discussions with other experts in this regard. We've been working with the Canadians, we've been working with the US, we've been working with a number of others in terms of looking at the issue.
He said that the legislation still has to be upgraded. A number of companies had indicated their interest in oil exploration and are currently working in Guyana's offshore areas looking at their respective exploration plans. Late last year, Minister Prasad had announced that there will be no oil exploration in Guyana before the year 2015. This decision was made after meeting with various company officials in the United States. The meeting was held behind the backdrop that Guyana has petroleum prospecting license issued for exploration activities in the offshore, coastal, nearshore, deep water and ultra-deep waters within Guyana. The companies had promised to keep their timelines, especially with regards to the processing and interpretation of new data. This information will be used to inform stakeholders on the next anticipated campaign of drilling expected in early 2015. For the Evening News, I'm Alexis Rodney.
The government of Guyana today said it has noted recent public assurances given by Leader of the Opposition, David Granger, that his party has no objection to the media attending and observing meetings of the Special Select Committee on Anti-Money Laundering legislation and that his party will support enactment of the said legislation before the February CFTEV deadline. In a release, the government said it welcomes these assurances and looks to the representatives of the opposition to be guided by their leader's pronouncement in their deliberations at the committee. The Deaf Association of Guyana is calling for a policy which will seek to ensure employment for deaf people across Guyana. Natasha Aziz reports.
President of the Deaf Association of Guyana, Sabine McIntosh, is appealing to the relevant government ministries to consider providing training for deaf out-of-school youths. This statement comes as a result of the lack of training and job availability for young people who are deaf and wishes to enter the world of work.
The employment of deaf out-of-school youth is a big challenge. And I don't think the Disability Act has begun to make much of a difference there. I think what would be needed would be for a body to look at the whole, to have a board for employment for disabled or for the deaf, whatever, whichever one, and particularly look at employment, and this should be inclusive of the private sector and of course the relevant training institutions.
Despite the challenges a deaf person faces when looking for a job, McIntosh noted that the association had dialogue with several private companies on this same issue.
We have approached companies individually, and they have employed deaf in a very good situation, but there's just few of them. That's not really good enough. It should be really at a higher level. There should be a policy towards that, and there should be a body to see that, what can be done in terms of training and in terms of employment.
She added that the Deaf Association has added to the scope of special needs schools in Guyana with a branch at Tushan West Coast, Demerara, which caters for deaf children between the ages of 7 to 18 years. In commending the passing of the Disability Act, she explained that talks are on the way for deaf people to become more involved within the sporting sector for non-academics. In 2013, the Deaf Association successfully completed several school-based projects, with some members performing in Suriname for Carifest 11 and the annual Finger Spelling Bee competition. For the Evening News, Natasha Aziz.
In case you've just joined us, you're watching the Evening News. Stay tuned for sport, sponsored by Marco. This is Evening News. Welcome back. Now for a look at sport. In the headlines, Mark Rodrigues appointed part-time technical director of the GFF. Confident Guyanese cricketers depart for Nagico Super 50, and international cricket could return to Berbice soon. Now for the details. We start off with some football news. Mark Rodrigues will once again be part of Guyanese football, as he was introduced as the part-time technical director of the Federation at a specially organized media briefing on Monday. Tristan Joseph reports.
Rodrigues will now be the part-time technical director for football within the GFF after having an extensive hand in forming the female Golden Jaguars team during their 2010 run. Rodrigues, at a specially organized press briefing held at the GFF headquarters in Campbellville, identified the main goal of his visit.
If we adopt this approach and build from the bottom and really establish more leagues for youth in this country at the various age groups, understanding what it needs to be taught within those ages in the four various areas of football, I think we'll be on the right path, and we'll only strengthen that area of still searching outside. Eventually that search outside will come from inside, right? And that is the goal long term.
What will it take to achieve the long-term goal of Rodrigues? The technical director explained.
We need to lay the groundwork. We're the experts, but we need to come together as one and really work as a unit to make sure we get that done. That's a large goal, it's a large challenge, and I have pretty broad shoulders, and I know Mr. Matthias has said that the GFF support is there in regards to what the final philosophy is that we come up with in terms of moving forward in this direction.
Further, Rodrigues pointed out that pride should be taken in what both the female and male national football teams have done thus far.
We really need to embrace what our women and our men have done, and time is of the essence in terms of making sure that we get the maximum out of what they have done for us, because as things age, we all know, they fall by the wayside and they become a fading memory. So we've got two good legacies in terms of the women in 2010 and the men up to 2013, and what they have done and achieved for us. Let's build on it, and now let us sincerely go and embrace the youth in this country.
Meanwhile, in the coming days, Rodriguez is expected to meet with the Coaches Association and various coaches and executives to formulate a structured way forward for football in Guyana.
Now for some cricket news. The national senior cricketers have departed for Trinidad and Tobago to compete in a Nagico Super 50 tournament set to start this week. Moments before departure, the cricketers expressed confidence in lifting the coveted title, which has been eluding them since 2005. We spoke with skipper Christopher Barnwell, the leg spinner Devendra Bishu, and ace batsman Ramnaresh Sarwan.
Yeah, well, I think it's a very well-selected team put together by the selectors, and it's just up to us to go out there and showcase our talent and come home with a trophy. First of all, it's an important tournament for me. I'm looking forward to playing the West Indies with October, so I think this is a stepping stone for this tournament here to go out and do well, to showcase my talent and to help the guys along in whatever possible ways that I can help them.
Well, I'm feeling very comfortable right now, and we've been having some good practice matches and good practice and stuff, and my confidence is there, and I've been bowling well throughout the camp and during intercounting time. So I'm looking forward for the tournament and to have an excellent tournament, so I could have Guyana the chances to win in the tournament.
I think for me it's important that I get a really good tournament. Obviously, I'm not getting any younger, so I want to fight my way back in. I think this year will be key for me to score heavily. So at the same time, although I want to score heavily, I've always been a team person. So I just have to make sure I try and balance it off, and with my performance, hopefully I'll be able to get the team over to the final and hopefully be able to win.
The tournament will feature hosts Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, Barbados, Jamaica, the Windward Islands, the Leeward Islands, the combined campuses and colleges, and the ICC affiliate side Ireland. Guyana will open its quest to top honours against Ireland in a Zone A match on January 31. The other two teams in Zone A are Jamaica and defending champions, the Windward Islands. The Guyanese will then play Jamaica on February 4 before taking on the defending champions on February 8. Guyana's 14-man squad reads Robin Backus, Trevon Griffith, Leon Johnson, Shivnarine Chandapal, Narsingh Ryan, Christopher Barnwell, Ramnaresh Sarwan, Royston Crandon, Asad Fuddadin, Anthony Bramble, Devendra Bishu, Verasamy Pramal, Runsford Beaton, and Paul Wins. With the erection of floodlights at the Albion Community Centre ground, there is a high possibility that international cricket could return to the ancient county of Berbice in the not-too-distant future. That's the assurance given by Sport Minister Dr. Frank Anthony, who led a team on a site visit to the Albion ground on Monday. On January 17 this year, works to install floodlights at the facility began, the first step towards ensuring the venue becomes an alternate to the Guyana National Stadium, according to Sport Minister Dr. Frank Anthony. Speaking at a press briefing in the auditorium of the Albion Community Development Centre on Monday morning, Dr. Anthony pointed out that the ultimate aim is to attract international matches, including Limacol Caribbean Premier League games, in the not-too-distant future.
When matches come, if this facility is developed to that standard, that some of those matches probably can actually come out here to Berbice. And I think with the kind of cricketing public that you have in Berbice, that would be a welcome development. But we're still a little way from that. We'll have to do a lot more work to the facility before we can get to that level and make this a kind of venue where people would want to come for those types of international matches. But it's not a dream that cannot be fulfilled.
He made reference to last year when the venue hosted the West Indies versus Bangladesh 50-over youth game as part of initial efforts to bring more high-profile games to the ground and the county by extension.
We are committed on the government side to keep constantly investing to make sure that this ground would reach at some point those international standards. But you can see this ongoing investment to upgrade this ground. So what you're seeing here is a substantial commitment from the government to make sure that we have an international level type of facility here. With the lighting, I can say without any doubt that the lighting would meet ICC cricketing standards.
Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Alfred King, who was also on the visit, pointed out that the project is being done in 3 phases.
The first is designing, procurement and supply of equipment. That was done by Moscow Lighting, and that component is almost 100%, except supervision of the installation of those equipment. Then the other 2 components. Phase 1, Phase 2 has to do with the civil works, which is about 95% completed, as mentioned by Dalsham, and the installation of the electrical component, 5% completed.
Vice Chairman of Region 6, Bhupal Jagru, said the installation of floodlights is a welcome initiative, one that would aid in increasing recreational activities in the county.
Floodlights at the Albion Sports Complex was a dream for us. And today we are about to see the reality. And I want to take this opportunity at least to thank the Minister for this initiative. It will be most welcome by the community of this region, something which we were looking forward for people to have their recreational facility to, as the manager said, we are having hard-working people which occupies during the day, and only maybe in the night they will have the time. And this has provided the opportunity for them to at least to have some fun at Albion. And not only cricket, but all aspects of game, cultural events, and name it, all the sporting facilities that you may want to have here.
Secretary of the Albion Cricket Club, Viman Walter, echoed similar sentiments, adding that not just cricket but other disciplines stand to benefit.
Prior to last year's national championship at the National Stadium, the quarantine team was practicing here at Albion, and they for sure are very, very much looking forward to having the National Athletics Championship being at Albion and on the lights. Certainly they would have a lot of support from their relatives, their schoolmates and so forth.
Government has injected approximately $91 million into the project. And finally in sport, England, India and Australia are set to have more control over the sport of cricket under controversial new plans agreed by the International Cricket Council, the ICC. The ICC claimed that principals, including a new executive committee of 5 members with one from each of the big 3, were unanimously backed. But the representatives of Pakistan and South Africa said their boards were yet to agree to the plans. The ICC has also decided to scrap the World Test Championship. The event, scheduled for England in 2017, will be replaced by the return of the Champions Trophy one-day tournament. Following a heated 6-hour meeting in Dubai, the governing body released a statement announcing unanimous support for a set of principles relating to the future structure, governance and financial models of the ICC. The ICC President, Alan Isaac, said the proposed changes were important for the future of the game. And with that, we've come to the end of sport. Of course, you can find these and many more stories in tomorrow's edition of the Guyana Times. And here's an invitation to join us on TVG Channel 28 and on Radio Guyana Inc. 89.3 in Essequibo, 89.5 in Georgetown and environs, and 89.7 in Berbice and Unicary, Suriname. Stay tuned. Your Bridge Reports are next. This is Evening News. Welcome back. Now for a look at your bridge reports. The Demerara Harbour Bridge will be closed on Wednesday, January 29 at 14 hours 30 for a period of 1.5 hours. And the Berbice River Bridge will be closed on Wednesday, January 29 at 15 hours 10 for a period of 1.5 hours. And with that, we've come to the end of the Evening News for Tuesday, January 28, 2014. I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for watching.